The Thing is walking the dirty and smelly streets of his former neighborhood, the Yancy Street in New York City, remembering living here as a kid. He goes inside his old apartment building, which is now abandoned and falling apart. He breaks into one of the rooms that belong to the Yancy Street gang. The gang leader claims he isn't welcome here and asks him to leave, calling him a traitor for choosing to leave the neighborhood. The Thing lives in the Baxter building now, together with the other members of the Fantastic Four, but it wasn't always like this. Ben used to live here a long time ago, and even though his family wasn't rich, his brother Daniel would always give him some money. Daniel was part of a street gang, and one night, Ben saw him sneak out the bedroom window. He followed him to a local playground where he and his friends were supposed to fight another rival gang. During the altercation, Daniel was stabbed to death and died on the spot, and Ben was heartbroken because he loved him very much. He got angry and became a gang leader himself many years later. But when his parents died, his uncle Jake became his legal guardian and adopted him. His uncle was a doctor, and he pushed him to finish high school, and he eventually joined the university with a football scholarship. That's where he met Reed Richards for the first time, and the two of them became roommates. Eventually, Ben joined the Air Force, where he became part of the test pilot program. When Reed built his first rocket that could go into space, he wanted him to fly. That's when they flew directly into a cosmic ray storm, which gave the Fantastic Four their powers and turned him into the Thing. Ben wanted to show the gang members that even though he grew up with a hard life, you can achieve many things if you put your mind to it. However, their leader isn't impressed and claims it's easy to make it out there in the soft life. Ben came here as a favor to an old friend, who was the father of the gang leader. He isn't sure, however, if his story got through to those kids, but the father is hopeful that his son might have a chance at a decent life. It's been less than 2 days since the awful fight against Annihilus, which almost destroyed 2 universes. Once it was over, there was garbage everywhere, and the Thing was put in charge of cleanup. He crushes everything down into a small ball that weighs 20 tons, which he then throws inside the waste disposal. This machine was created by Mr. Fantastic, and it jumps its compress into its component molecules, which they later recycle and use to build other things. On his way out of the Baxter building, Ben runs into the mailman, who gives him a letter. During the attack, his girlfriend Alicia and Reed's son Franklin were injured and are now recuperating at the hospital. Reed was devastated and didn't even go home this whole time, but the doctor reassures him that his son's gonna be alright. Alicia had a broken arm, but she was fine otherwise and was recuperating as well. Ben tells her about the important letter he had received from someone who used to be very close to him. When he was in college, he met a beautiful girl named Alin, and he and Reed went on a double date. They hit it off, but just 2 weeks later, right before the start of a major football game, Alin came to visit him. She claimed she loved him very much, but something came up, and she wanted to break up, so she left him without saying anything. Ben was devastated and couldn't stop thinking about her, which caused him to miss an important catch and ultimately lose the game. His coach was angry with him, but he was more furious with himself. 3 weeks later, he found Alin, and he told her how much he loved her. He even got an engagement ring and wanted her to marry him, but she wanted to be a famous actress and moved to California. She said she was afraid that if she said yes, she would focus more on her career and neglect him, and he didn't deserve that. She said no and ran away once again, but this time forever. Many years later, she became a famous actress just like she wanted, but for some reason, she wanted to meet Ben once again. He waited for her at the Baxter building, but when the elevator doors opened, he was shocked. Alin had suffered a stroke, which paralyzed the left side of her face, and she couldn't work anymore. She wanted to see Ben because he also dealt with something similar when he became the Thing. Even though Franklin was gonna be alright, the attack took away his powers, and he was now just a normal boy. Reed wanted to keep him safe, so he disbanded the Fantastic Four and moved to a small town where they would live normal lives, avoiding any possible dangers as much as possible. Several days later, Lockjaw teleports Crystalia Amaquilin, one of the royal members of the Inhumans, to New York City because she wants to ask Ben for help. Her daughter was born without powers, so her husband Quicksilver wants to put her through the Terrigen Mist, a process that awakens dormant genes and gives Inhumans superpowers. Because her husband is a mutant, she is worried that mixing their genes together will kill their daughter, and she wants Ben to stop him. He agrees, and Lockjaw takes him to the blue area of Earth's moon, in the central square of Attilan. Ben wanted to speak to Black Bolt, who is the king of the Inhumans, but the guards attack him instead. He was attacked from behind with a powerful weapon, which rendered him unconscious. He wakes up tied to some powerful chains, and Lockjaw was trapped inside a cage that negates his teleportation abilities. Black Bolt and other members of the royal family eventually visit him, but they wouldn't listen to him. As the father, Quicksilver has the right to put his daughter through the Terrigen Mist and trigger her powers. It's one of their traditions. After they left, Ben throws a necklace that he bought for Alicia to destroy the machine that was negating Lockjaw's powers. This allows him to break free. and he uses his powers to teleport both of them right next to Quicksilver. He was right next to the machine, moments away from putting his daughter inside it, but he refuses to listen and runs away. However, Lockjaw gets in the way and stops him from escaping and then takes the girl and teleports somewhere else. Black Bolt arrives and confronts the Thing, and a confrontation erupts between the two of them. Ben picks up a piece of rock and hits him over the head, which knocks him unconscious on the ground. But it doesn't last long, and he gets punched so hard that it sends him flying through many building walls. Lockjaw eventually returns, but he brings Crystal and her daughter back with him. Eventually, she convinces Quicksilver that it's too dangerous to try and give their daughter powers because it might kill her, and he agrees. She gives Ben a kiss on the cheek as thanks for his help, and then Lockjaw teleports him back to New York City. During one of the hottest days of the summer, Sarah Ann Jackson was working hard in her garden. Out of nowhere, a mob of people from the nearby town approached her house, but they were angry and armed with weapons. Sarah doesn't live alone. She lives with her son Lucas, who unfortunately was born with malformations that make him look like a monster. The mob demanded she hand over the boy to them and promised to leave her alone, but she refused. Suddenly, the Thing and Lockjaw appear, and the mob think they are monsters as well. A confrontation erupts as the people throw rocks and sticks and wood at them, but the Thing was unbothered by any of it. The sheriff arrives and shoots his gun into the air, prompting everyone to run away scared. Upon returning from the moon, Lockjaw sensed that Sarah and her son were in trouble, and teleported both of them here. Lucas is just 12 years old, and he was born deformed, but he is completely harmless. Ben wants to help and goes into town with the sheriff, but apparently, this place wasn't doing too good. The town's been in a recession for the past 12 years, ever since Lucas was born, and the people blame the monster. They left Lockjaw behind to keep the boy safe, but the mob returned and shot him. Ben and the sheriff rushed back to the house, but the mob was just about to break inside. During the attack, Sarah got hit in the head with a rock, which instantly killed her. They were angry and wanted the monster to disappear, but the boy came outside. He isn't only deformed, he also has a special power, and everyone around him starts feeling good and forgets why they came here. Lucas gave them his love, and the mob left them in peace, returning back to their homes. Sarah was buried the same day, and Lucas mourns her death, but Lockjaw teleports him to the Inhuman base on the moon, the only place where he won't be judged for the way he looks. After visiting Alicia in the hospital once again, Ben returns to the Baxter building, but Simon Williams, aka Wonderman, is waiting for him. They are friends, and he wonders why he's here, when out of nowhere, Simon punches him with everything he's got. The blow is so powerful that Ben is sent flying tens of feet through a couple of cars and lands in a fruit stand on the other side of the street. Wonderman doesn't say anything and instead continues his attack. The Thing overpowers him and punches him back, and even though they are close in power levels, he shouldn't be winning so easily. In a dark alley nearby, we can see a mysterious figure who claims that Wonderman is not enough, and he needs someone stronger to finish the job. He lures She-Hulk here, but as soon as she arrives, she attacks the Thing as well, punching him mercilessly. But just like before, the Thing is strong and wins the fight, even though it shouldn't have been so easy. It's almost as if these heroes are unable to control their powers, and are mostly just using brute force to fight. The mysterious figure realizes that brute force isn't everything, and he changes his tactic. He takes control over Spider-Man's mind and brings him here, forcing him to attack the Thing. This person is controlling the heroes' minds, making them attack Ben, but he is unable to effectively control their powers, making them weaker and easily defeated. He then takes control of people's minds and makes them attack, but Ben doesn't want to hurt them. He uses an indirect tactic that knocks them to the ground and then traps them inside one of the cars. Seeing how none of his tactics are working, the mysterious person decides to take control of Ben's body, using his powers to get inside his mind, claiming he's gonna use him to destroy the city and make the people hate him. Ben wakes up inside his mind, but the place is dark and he doesn't understand what is going on. Suddenly, the mysterious person reveals his true identity. He is one of the Fantastic Four's arch-enemies, the Puppet Master. The Puppet Master uses radioactive clay sculptings to control people's minds and make them do whatever he wants. After their last fight inside Doom's castle, he was supposed to be dead, but he survived somehow. His physical body had been destroyed, but his mind survived somehow, becoming one with the very clay it had controlled for many years. He can now control the clay as never before, and he can shape it with a thought and seize any mind he wants. He claims that he is in control inside Ben's mind and starts beating him senseless, attacking him from every direction. Ben is powerless to defend himself unless he lets go and accepts his true nature, becoming the Thing. The Thing is immensely more powerful than Ben, and the tables quickly turn in his favor. The Puppet Master is unable to defend himself and wants to get away, but the Thing chases after him. He gets out of his head, but something is wrong, and the Thing is engulfed in complete darkness. But he refuses to give up and resists the only way he knows how, fighting. Eventually, the Thing breaks free of his own mind. but he is shocked to realize that every punch he landed against the Puppet Master was also happening in reality. The fight had destroyed an entire block and left the people in shock. The Puppet Master claims he's going to do it again, but this time controls someone even stronger. But something is wrong. When he entered Ben's mind, he went too far, and they are still linked together. He is unable to change shape anymore, and his body starts failing and fading away, grinding down into a pile of useless clay. The Thing visits his girlfriend in the hospital, but he blames himself for her attack. He loves his friends but thinks that things are changing in the Fantastic Four and isn't sure he belongs there anymore. Somewhere else, a supervillain was robbing the New York First National Bank and the cops had the entire building surrounded. The Thing arrives and decides to help, but just as he plans to go inside, a young man comes out carrying 2 bags of money. He claims his name is Goody Two-Shoes, and then kicks Ben so hard that it sends him flying into a nearby building. He recovers and comes back for some more action, but Goody kicks him again and then stomps on his body. He jumps on him repeatedly until his body is crushed into the pavement and left inside a big hole. Goody then climbs the Empire State Building, claiming he immigrated to the United States but was treated badly as an illegal alien. He vows retribution and wants to start by killing the Thing, who climbs up after him. The fight continues on the ground, but Ben decides to go all out and doesn't hold back anymore. He mercilessly punches Goody until his face is covered in bruises and he goes unconscious. He then takes his radioactive shoes, which were the source of his powers, claiming he nearly got killed, but he came back swinging and won the fight. The next day, Ben reads the newest issue of The Thing, but is pissed about it. He goes to the Marvel offices and breaks inside, demanding to speak to the writers. He accuses them of altering the fight against Goody Two-Shoes, making him look too weak. The writers need to spice things up, especially since the Thing's life isn't too interesting. This pushes him over the edge, and he starts beating them behind closed doors. Lots of stuff happened in the last month since they got back from the negative zone where they fought Annihilus, and Ben is conflicted about his place in the Fantastic Four. He wanders the dirty streets of New York City, thinking about his relationship with the other members and his relationship with Alicia. He runs into Jennifer Walters, aka She-Hulk, who invites him to have a couple of drinks together. She knows that something is bothering him, but before they can talk about it more, they hear gunshots in the street. She-Hulk goes outside and stops a couple of thieves who had just robbed an armored car. The Thing goes in the back and deals with the robbers, and luckily he is immune to bullets. He wants to punch one of them, but She-Hulk stops him at the last second, claiming he's going to kill him. Ben is on edge and goes back to the hospital to be with Alicia, but an old man is watching them from the shadows. The old man claims the time has come for him to fulfill a promise he made a long time ago. Over 4,000 years ago, in Egypt, while the pharaoh was away, the empress wanted to cheat on him with one of the slaves and asked his guards to bring him to her room. The slave refuses, claiming he's not a slave but a free man, and it's his right to reject her. This pisses her off, but before she can do anything, the pharaoh returns. She lies to him, claiming she wanted to throw a surprise party for his return, but the slave refuses to obey her orders. Because she was rejected, the empress asked the guards to torture the slave by burning his eyes with hot rods, but that still wasn't enough. She also wants the court's wizard to cast a spell, cursing his soul to jump from one person to another until the end of time. But the wizard hated the empress and changed the spell, making it so that he could help the slave one day. In the present, the wizard is still alive, prolonging his life with a special elixir, waiting for the day when he could free the slave once again. He spent countless centuries searching for a way to make right an ancient wrong. He goes into Alicia's room and casts a spell once again, claiming he's been searching for Ben for a long time and he's here to set him free. He casts the spell once again, which engulfs the room in a thick smoke, and when the dust settles, the ancient slave is reborn once again, but this time inside the Thing's body. The slave uses his new incredible body to go on a rampage, tearing up the hospital and leaving nothing but a trail of destruction behind. Alicia gets up from her bed and tries to follow him, but she is blind, and it's almost impossible to navigate the streets. The slave waited for over 4,000 years to be set free, and he enjoys his newfound powers, choosing to avenge himself after being trapped for so long. He spent countless lives being reincarnated into different people, but now he's finally free and has power beyond imagination, the power to take revenge upon those who betrayed and imprisoned him. Alicia knows that deep down this new warrior is Ben Grimm, and she is determined to get him back. A group of soldiers ambush him from behind, using a powerful cannon to shoot fire toward him, but it's no use. The warrior is immune to fire, and the mystical energies surround and protect him, just as they have protected his soul. Next, he goes to the United Nations, where many diplomats from many countries are having a meeting. He introduces himself, claiming that because he was robbed of having a free life and trapped inside a never-ending cycle of reincarnation, he now has the power to rule the world, and no one can stand in his way. Alicia convinces the police to bring her there so she can talk to him, and he recognizes her from the hospital. the warrior's soul was reincarnated countless times over, living inside other people, suffering, trapped, without a way of escaping. Alicia claims that he lived for thousands of years and felt everything the people felt: love, joy, wonder. Ben Grimm has also suffered terribly ever since he was exposed to cosmic rays and became the Thing. He doesn't deserve to have his life stolen from him. The warrior is touched by Alicia's kind words and love for Ben, so he decides to release Ben's mind and body, choosing to disappear into limbo but taking the wizard along with him. Alicia is overwhelmed with happiness and hugs her boyfriend, who is set free and given a second chance at life. On a beautiful, quiet morning, Ben and Alicia go for a walk through Central Park. He confesses his undying love for her, but still, something is bothering him, and he thinks their lives would be better off without each other. A couple of kids recognize him and follow him around, hoping to catch the famous superhero doing something amazing. He's annoyed with them and just wants to spend some time with his girlfriend, so he decides to teach them a lesson. He grabs one of the park's statues and hurls it around in his hands, reducing the entire thing to nothing but a pile of rubble. The kids get scared and decide to leave him alone, running in every direction they can. The couple decides to go back to the Baxter building and run into Mr. Fantastic and Invisible Woman. Susan got pregnant in the negative zone during their fight with Annihilus, and Reed is worried about the baby. Ben takes Alicia into the next room and prepares to tell her what's really bothering him. He wishes he was just a normal man so that they could marry, settle down, and raise normal kids. But that can never be. He thought he could get used to being the Thing, but he can't. It always comes back to bite him in the ass. It all began after their mission in space, which exposed them to cosmic rays. The soldiers who greeted them back then thought he was some kind of monster and attacked him, and many people have looked at him the same. Before they can finish talking, Reed walks in on them and claims there's something strange happening in Central Park. There is a strange energy coming from the middle, something unlike anything they have ever encountered before. A giant shape appeared out of nowhere right in the middle of the park, but they don't know what it represents. Upon going inside, the air seems cleaner, and there seems to be some kind of soothing effect, almost like a psionic tranquilizer. Unfortunately, this was all a trap, and the Fantastic Four are hit with a beam of energy that transports them to another place. In the events that happened in Secret Wars, the all-powerful Beyonder abducted dozens of Earth's heroes and villains, creating a patchwork planet called Battleworld from the chunks of several other planets. The Beyonder then manipulated them into fighting each other in order to study the nature of mortals. In Battleworld, the Thing could revert back to his human form at will, and when the Secret Wars ended, everyone else returned home. But he decided to remain behind. Before leaving, Reed gave him a device that allows him to return back to Earth, but out of nowhere, someone steals it from him. A small alien riding a giant flying beast swooped down and stole his device. Ben runs after him, but he refuses to change into the Thing, choosing to do this in his human form. The land is strange and changing shape, making his chase a lot more difficult. The alien arrives and enters a strange obelisk built in the middle of nowhere, from a material similar to glass, which makes it impossible to climb. But behind it, there is a large alien town beaming with life. Ben goes inside the local tavern and decides to speak with the barman, hoping to get some answers. Apparently, the alien who stole his device is part of a race called Takers. The Takers have stolen many things from people in this town, but because they were unable to climb the tower, they decided to build a town here. With the help of a female alien, Ben is able to ride one of the birds to the top of the obelisk, which is actually a portal to another place. He arrives at yet another large structure, but he doesn't understand how any of this is possible. Battleworld was literally created 3 weeks ago. The door was impenetrable, so he transforms into the Thing and breaks inside, confronting the Takers. They decide to give him back the device they stole, calling him a noble warrior. Ben wants them to find another object that belongs to the female alien that gave him the bird, but that happened over 16 years ago, and it's going to take forever to find it. Ben leaves the Takers to begin the search and explores the surroundings of this strange new place. The sands shift and change constantly under his feet, altering hue and texture, flowing like mercury, and then slow and sluggish, more like hot asphalt on a blistering summer day. Upon going deeper, he arrives in Wonderland, a calm place with beautiful, colorful vegetation and a giant waterfall. Out of nowhere, a warrior passes him by, riding his majestic horse, and nearly runs him over. Ben calls him names and asks him to try that again, and the warrior stops. He claims his name is Hanrak of the Lien people, and he attacks Ben for daring to call him names. The warrior is very tall and powerful, swinging a giant sword that weighs almost half his weight, but Ben has enough and transforms into the Thing. The fight quickly turns in his favor, and the warrior is nowhere nearly as strong as he is, but he isn't alone. A woman warrior comes out of nowhere and attacks him as well, but Ben refuses to hit a lady. Instead, he goes after her horse, picking it up and stopping her attack head-on. She calls him a monster and accuses him of working for the Dark Lord, but the Thing changes back into Ben Grimm and claims he doesn't work for anyone. Her name is Tariana of the people of Lien, and she is Hanrak's girlfriend. Before she can explain what's going on, her boyfriend decides to confront the Dark Lord alone and leaves. They chase him down and run into Dr. Doom, who was bigger than usual, a literal giant compared to them. The Thing hits Doom with a giant tree trunk, which causes his body to explode, but that wasn't the end. Hanrak was brainwashed somehow and attacks him as well, while Doom's body transforms into many smaller ones. While Ben gets beaten on the ground, Tariana confronts her lover, claiming he was being brainwashed, and manages to knock him unconscious. She then throws her spear toward one of the Dooms, which causes his body to explode. All the other Dooms disappear as well, but Ben wishes Reed was here to answer his many questions. The two of them pick up the unconscious Hanrak and head towards Tariana's home, which was actually Doom's castle, even though it was supposed to be light years away on Earth. There are many alien planets that could be seen above the castle, but that can't be real because the Beyonder destroyed an entire galaxy and now there is only one planet, Battleworld. Hanrak follows Ben and Tariana as they march into town, but is ashamed because he was defeated in battle by the woman he loves. They meet Tynar, the leader of their people, and Tariana tells him what a great warrior Ben is. They were celebrating something and invited Ben inside to have dinner together. Tariana tells the story of how Ben can transform into the Thing, the greatest warrior she has ever seen, and how he was able to defeat the Dark Wizard. Following a great war against an evil race, the Lien have lived in peace for many generations. But recently, a Dark Wizard appeared in the forests around the town, and every warrior who tried to face him died, and the ones that returned were shriveled, drained of life and spirit. That's what Hanrak was doing in the forest in the first place, but nobody had managed to win against the Dark Wizard until Ben came along. But Ben still doesn't understand. How can these people have a history so ancient when Battleworld didn't even exist 1 month ago? Ben finds Doom Tower and wants to go inside, but Tariana warns him that everyone who tried before him has disappeared. Nevertheless, Ben goes inside, but the place looks abandoned, completely different from how clean Doom's castle used to be. As he goes deeper, he feels a great evil coming from within, which weakens his body and drains his life force. Meanwhile, the Takers found the artifact that was stolen from the female alien who helped Ben, but it wasn't the one she was after. Tariana went into the castle as well, but Hanrak followed her, jealous that she left him because she wanted to be with Ben. Ben eventually transforms into the Thing and enters the laboratory where he finds Dr. Doom himself. He instantly jumps him but manages to break a machine that was sitting on the table. Doom wasn't even real. It was just an illusion, and his entire castle and Lien people completely disappear. Before going back to Earth, Doom had left behind a gadget that projected a Doom's eye view of the world, but somehow, Tariana was still here. She didn't disappear with the rest of her people, and Ben thinks it's because he wanted her to be here. The two of them continue the journey and wander through this strange new world until they stumble upon a crashed spaceship. The Thing digs it up from the ground and decides to see if it can still fly, even though it looks to be thousands of years old. Out of nowhere, a squadron of spaceships flies by and attacks them, but the Thing is immune to their lasers. He then decides to follow them but is unable to fly the ship. He reverts back to Ben Grimm and he suddenly recognizes the commands, which allows him to fly the ship. The ships that attacked them earlier were now attacking an alien race that lived inside the same type of spaceship as theirs. However, these aliens do nothing to defend themselves and are easily taken out by their enemies. Ben is an excellent pilot and decides to get involved, easily taking out a couple of enemy ships. The attack eventually stops and Ben is hailed as a hero by the Silbans people. Apparently these two alien races have been at war for thousands of years, but the Silbans have forgotten how to fly their ships and just choose to accept defeat. Ben and Tariana decide to help and spend the next couple of weeks training these people. She gets a new outfit and Ben likes it, but when they try to get close to each other, the enemies return. This time the Silbans defend themselves, but it's no use. They are easily defeated and eventually surrender once again. Ben tries to help them, but he was never a good leader. That's Reed's job. So he does the only thing he knows, beating people up. He gets into another ship and fights the enemies alone, managing to defeat their entire squadron all by himself. The aliens are thankful for his help and claim they will keep training and fighting, but Ben and Tariana continue exploring the planet. This planet is dangerous and constantly changing. Strange new shapes and obstacles appear out of thin air. This whole place is sectioned off like some kind of big round game board with different types of terrain. They eventually arrive at the gates of a giant city, which doesn't look too friendly, but unfortunately the ship was badly damaged. They are barely able to land safely but manage to hit another ship that was parked there, leaving a small scratch on its back. Upon going inside, they see the tavern once again and decide to go inside, but someone is watching them from the shadows. This place was filled with different kinds of aliens, one stranger than the other, but they were all having a good time. Ben and Tariana sit down and get close to one another, but their intimate moment is interrupted by a strange alien who hits on Tariana. Ben is annoyed and wants to defend her honor but is sent flying with a powerful punch. But he refuses to change into the Thing and decides to fight back in his human form, landing a devastating punch himself. The bartender offers him a free drink, but they gave him a dribble glass and the drink gets spilled all over him. The takers continued the search and found a powerful weapon, but sadly, this doesn't belong to the female alien either. She recognizes how powerful the weapon is, remarking that it's probably strong enough to kill even the Thing. Suddenly, the weapon is teleported into the hands of the alien attacker, who knows just what to do with it. He goes after Ben and shoots him from behind, but fortunately he bent down to pick up a wallet filled with money at that exact moment. The enemy's beam misses him, but the wallet was attached to a string and lures Ben into a dark alley. The mysterious figures from earlier were mocking him, playing practical jokes on him, just like the one at the bar. The jokes continue when they drop a couple of eggs on his head while the alien continues his revenge. Eventually, they all come face to face, and the mysterious figures are actually the owners of the ship that got scratched during the landing. They also recognize the weapon, claiming it's programmed to seek out the greatest challenges to its power. The Thing remarks that this bazooka could even beat Galactus, the most powerful being in this galaxy, which causes the weapon to disappear a second time. Left without a weapon, the alien from the bar decides to run away, followed by the aliens whose ship got scratched, and Ben couldn't wait to leave this place. After climbing a giant wall that didn't even exist 1 month ago, the two of them decide to take a break. They get into another heated moment, and they are about to kiss when suddenly, the ground shakes and opens up, swallowing Ben entirely. Tariana panics but doesn't know what to do. She needs to do something to find him because she doesn't want to be apart from him. Ben ends up underground inside a giant cave, but the place is like a labyrinth. He remarks that every time he and Tariana have tried to get close, something terrible has happened. He loves Alicia, but staying together is too dangerous for her because he's a member of the Fantastic Four. Staying behind was supposed to help figure things out, but so far, he's even more lost and has conflicting thoughts about Tariana. He thinks about pressing the button on the device and just going back home, remarking that Alicia is probably worried sick about him. But he can't go back, not yet, not until he finds Tariana to make sure she's alright. Out of nowhere, the ground starts shaking again, but this time he is attacked by the Things, a race of people who look just like him. But he is unable to change into the Thing anymore, and they think he is an intruder. He is taken prisoner and brought to their underground village, but one of them steals the device which can teleport him back home. He breaks free and runs after the one that stole it, but ends up hiding in one of the houses. Here, he meets an old lady named Laura Goodma, who senses that he is a gentle spirit. She decides to help him, claiming the one who stole his device is at the edge of town. After leaving, the old lady changes into her true form, revealing herself to be a dark wizard. The dark wizard appears once again and causes a powerful earthquake, threatening everyone in the village. Ben jumps him, trying to stop him, which causes the earthquake to stop. The other Things are thankful for his help and apologize for taking his device, choosing to give it back. He is allowed to leave, but he can't figure out who that wizard was, and all he wants to do now is find Tariana. He goes deeper into the caves and hears someone laughing at him. It was the same wizard who caused the earthquake in the village. He shows himself once again, claiming he kidnapped Tariana, but she's safe for now. He wants Ben to find her, calling it a challenge to him, but if he doesn't want to do it, he can just press the button and go back to Earth. Ben gets furious and attacks him, but it was just another illusion. He starts punching the rocks, which breaks the curse and transforms him into the Thing once again. Out of nowhere, the wizard summons a warrior to challenge him, someone called the Reckoner. The Reckoner is wielding a powerful mace, but Ben dodges his deadly attacks. However, the weapon can also be used to fire energy beams, and Ben is hit with a powerful blast. He claims he couldn't see it coming, and now he can't see anything. He's gone completely blind. Even though he can't see anything more, he charges toward his opponent at full strength, diving into a nearby rock. He didn't stop there though, and continued to push through the dirt, digging his way to the surface. Ben can't stop thinking about Tariana, feeling hopeless that without his sight he won't be able to find her. However, he thinks about Alicia and what she must be going through as well, finally understanding what life must feel like for her. Unknowingly, Ben goes into a forest filled with cactuses, each sharp enough to cut through his flesh. As if this isn't bad enough, the Reckoner appears again and unleashes a pack of animals to attack him. He stumbles and falls on the ground while the animals jump him, but that's when he is able to transform back into the Thing and easily deal with them. The Thing finally catches him and pins him to the ground, unloading a series of punches to his face. The mysterious wizard appears once again, claiming his agent is defeated, and in return, he grants him his eyesight back. but that's when Ben realizes that the Reckoner was actually Tariana, and he beat her unconscious. Fortunately, she is a very strong woman and easily recovers, even though she was left with quite a few bruises. Ben feels sorry about what he did and blames himself for not seeing through the wizard's magic. Before leaving, Reed warned him that his thoughts might affect things around the planet, but everything feels strange. Somewhere nearby, an old woman carrying a baby was being attacked by some trolls riding giant bats. Ben changes into the Thing and quickly deals with them, forcing them to retreat. The old woman thanks him for his help but asks him to do her another favor. She wants him to take the child to the city of Moab within a week's time, but no longer than that. Luckily, there is a herd of unicorns, which baffles Ben once again, and the baby is able to calm them down, allowing them to ride them. Their journey was filled with adventures, mostly caused by the baby, who got himself in a lot of trouble and even put water in Ben's boots. The Dark Wizard appears once again and claims the baby belongs to him. He then uses his magic on a tree, giving it life and forcing it to attack them. Somewhere else, the Takers continued the search and found another stolen object, but unfortunately this wasn't what the alien woman was looking for. The three of them eventually arrive at the city of Moab within a week's time, and this place was amazing. They are attacked one final time by flying monsters, and Ben is forced to choose between protecting the baby and saving Tariana, who is unfortunately kidnapped. This city belongs to the White Wizards, and the baby is their future king. Ben is greeted as a hero and offered to stay with them, but he can't because he needs to go after Tariana and rescue her. This next place looks like one of those forests from horror movies, which used to scare him as a kid. Suddenly, a man and his horse-pulled carriage nearly run him over, and he is forced to jump away. The man offers to give him a ride, but he was carrying a coffin and asks him to get inside. A chase begins, and Ben runs away, trying to get as far as possible from that creepy guy, and runs toward a strange castle. He manages to get inside, where he is greeted by a familiar face, but he can't quite picture who he resembles. The Dark Wizard was watching everything unfold from the safety of his lair, and claims that Ben is walking straight into a spider's web. He is keeping Tariana prisoner here, and claims he knows Ben Grimm a lot better than she does. In fact, he knows everything about him. Somewhere else, the Takers have found another object and bring it to the alien woman. Unfortunately, this isn't the object she was looking for either, but this makes the Dark Wizard angry as well, who was watching everything on his TV. As it turns out, the man from the castle is actually Count Dracula, and he attacks Ben. His claws are sharp enough to penetrate his rock exterior, which causes him to bleed. Ben is starting to realize that none of this is real, and it's all happening because of his imagination. After killing Dracula with a sharp stick through the heart, he is now attacked by a mummy. The monster was big and strong, but it only takes one powerful punch to completely destroy it. Unfortunately, his next opponent is even bigger and scarier, none other than Frankenstein's monster. Meanwhile, back on Earth in the Baxter building, Reed informs Johnny that he wants to move the Fantastic Four's headquarters to another place. They've slowly outgrown this building, and he doesn't have the necessary space for all of his machines and inventions. Johnny and Alicia have become very good friends ever since Ben was dragged to Battleworld, and they go together to a lecture on modern kinetic sculpture. Reed wonders if something is going on between them. He's never seen Johnny go to a lecture before. And with Ben gone, God knows how lonely Alicia must be. Back on Battleworld, the Thing fights Frankenstein, but the fight isn't easy. The monster is quite strong and picks up a rock wanting to squish him, when out of nowhere someone hits him with a tranquilizing dart. It was a mysterious soldier who claims the monster will be asleep for a few hours, but then he does the same thing to Ben, shooting him in the chest. He wakes up several hours later trapped inside a carriage alongside Frankenstein and Gregor Lupus, aka Werewolf Man. The Thing changes back into Ben Grimm, which shrinks his body and allows him to free himself. He then breaks outside and easily deals with the soldier who put him to sleep. The man driving the carriage was Dr. Julius Ackerman, also known as the Monster Master. This old man is able to control Lupus's mind, forcing him to change into a mindless werewolf. He then forces it to attack Ben, but whatever human was inside of him was now gone. Frankenstein is able to free himself as well, and goes after the doctor and kills him. This causes him to lose control of the werewolf, and he transforms back into Lupus. The two of them are thankful for Ben's help and want to help him find Tariana, but he refuses, saying he needs to do this on his own. Johnny and Alicia come back home after spending a beautiful night together, but the Baxter building is completely empty. Out of nowhere, someone called Chief Examiner appears, claiming he wants to steal the Human Torch's powers. He breaks into the building's security system and activates the maintenance drones, controlling them to attack Johnny. He transforms into the Human Torch and easily deals with them. These drones are not designed for combat. Chief Examiner wants him to step inside a black portal so he can take his powers, but Johnny takes Alicia and runs off. Meanwhile, She-Hulk arrives and hears fighting coming from the upper floor, but the elevators were disabled, so she's forced to climb up. The Examiner controls one of the flying cars and directs it towards She-Hulk, but she takes it head on and just punches it away. Unfortunately, it hits one of the walls and changes direction, heading straight for Alicia, who doesn't know what is going on. Johnny flies towards her, trying to save her, but the black portal appears in front of him, and he is sucked inside. The machine does its job and steals his powers but returns him inside the building, while the Examiner disappears, claiming he also has the Hulk's and Spider-Man's powers. Meanwhile, in another part of the galaxy, on a planet far away, a race of aliens is preparing for an upcoming war with the Black Fleet. Durgan the Philosopher is the one who created Chief Examiner and sent it to steal the powers of Earth's mightiest heroes in hopes of using them to fight off the invasion. Back on Battleworld, the Thing is confronted with many illusions of the Dark Wizard when, out of nowhere, Chief Examiner appears. It claims it wants his powers but chooses to sit and observe for now, letting him deal with the wizard. Ben follows the wizard into a strange green building, but this place isn't what it seems. The floor changes shape, turning into a slide that leads him into a giant mouth. He breaks free, but next, he is attacked by a moving chair. Everything wants to kill him inside this building, even a picture of Alicia which turns evil upon seeing him. Chief Examiner appears again, watching him from the shadows, observing if his powers are worthy enough. Eventually, the Thing passes through the dark portal, and the machine does its thing, analyzing his body and stealing his powers. He is then returned unharmed, and Ben continues his search for the Dark Wizard. Tariana is able to free herself but is confronted by the Thing. He instantly attacks her, knocking her against the trees, but she is strong and instantly gets up. She attacks him from above and manages to stab him in the shoulder. But Ben Grimm, who was in another location altogether, feels the pain of the stabbing. Tariana wasn't actually free. She was still tied up inside the wizard's lair, and her mind was being manipulated. The Thing that she was fighting isn't even real, even though it looks exactly like him. Also, every time she hurts this mindless beast, Ben's body feels the effects and he gets weaker and weaker. He finally has enough of this pain and decides to change into the Thing, but he quickly finds out that he can't do that anymore. The Takers have finally accomplished the search and found what the alien lady was actually looking for, the severed head of Ultron, which was left behind during the Secret Wars saga. Ben realizes that his relationship with Alicia isn't as strong as he thought it was, and Tariana made him realize this. She is transported to New York City, into Ben's old apartment building, where she finds a younger version of him on the ground. He wants her to fix his toy of the Thing, but she finally realizes that none of this is actually real and breaks the illusion. She wakes up claiming she finally understands what's going on, but that's when the Dark Wizard decides to reveal his true identity, which leaves her in shock. Ben arrives at the Baxter building and thinks that Reed Richards is the one behind everything, only he knows so much about his life to make all his fears come true. But in reality, it wasn't Reed. It was actually another version of Ben Grimm. Evil Ben claims that this planet gave life to his subconscious, the real Ben Grimm, which has been hidden all these years. Tariana is the link between his mind and his body, and evil Ben used her to separate the Thing in order to destroy him. Ben ignored him all these years, coming to terms that he was now the Thing and he could never go back to his human form. The real Ben Grimm can no longer change into the Thing. He is only human, but his evil version is beginning to change into the Thing he hates the most. Ben breaks inside the Baxter building, but the elevator isn't working, so he climbs up the shaft. Somewhere else, the alien lady, now in possession of Ultron's severed head, turned the other aliens into her slaves, helping her build a factory. Inside, they constructed a body for Ultron's head, and the construction was finally finished. She restores him to full power and welcomes him, claiming she served him and deserves a reward. But instead of being thankful, Ultron kills her, claiming he is giving her the gift of oblivion. Meanwhile, evil Grimm is slowly changing into the Thing, but he taunts Tariana, saying that her life isn't even real and everything she remembers about it is a lie. He fights back the urge to change into the Thing, and it works. However, this causes the real Ben Grimm to change back into the Thing, which allows him to climb the building faster. He wasn't at full strength yet and is attacked by giant hands that come at him from every direction. This causes him to lose his balance and he falls down the elevator shaft all the way down to where the evil Grimm was waiting for him. He wakes up in a different place, this time inside an arena similar to Rome's Colosseum. The Dark Wizard reveals his true identity, claiming he is the real Ben Grimm, and he wants to kill the Thing, becoming the dominating personality. After his friends went back to Earth, Ben stayed behind in hopes of figuring out his feelings for Alicia and his place within the Fantastic Four. The planet sensed his thoughts and gave birth to a separate personality, the Ben Grimm, which was hidden inside, beneath the Thing. He was fully aware of what he was and started working on a plan to kill him. He found Ultron's severed head and created the Takers and all the other alien races. Everything on this planet was created by him. Ben Grimm challenges the Thing to a fight to the death, and if he wins, the monster will be gone forever. Ben is strong, but the Thing is even stronger, and he pins him to the ground. Meanwhile, Ultron has become a lot stronger and built an entire army, looking to kill every living organism on this planet and create a new age of the machine. As the two men fight to the death, he begins his attack on the planet, killing everyone and setting everything ablaze. Tariana manages to free herself and decides to get involved, attacking Ben from behind. She uses a sword to stab him in the back, and this has an instant effect on the planet around them. Ben Grimm is finally killed, and everything that he created on this planet begins to slowly disappear, including Ultron's army of machines. Tariana was badly injured, and the Thing tells her the truth, and she finally understands. However, she's also a part of him and slowly begins to fade away as he is left alone on this empty planet. Since she was a fiction of his imagination, she couldn't do nothing he didn't want her to do. So it was his idea to kill Ben Grimm and leave only the Thing as the dominant personality. Before pressing the button and choosing to go back to Earth, the Thing picks up Ultron's severed head, which was lying on the ground, and then teleports back home. This causes the entire planet to shatter and eventually explode into a million broken pieces. He arrives safely on Earth, amazed that just a second ago he was on the other side of the universe. Meanwhile, Doctor Strange senses a great evil in a small town in Connecticut and flies over to investigate. Much stuff has happened while he was on Battleworld, but at least he made a decision about his relationship with Alicia and goes to see her. Strange is shocked to find Reed Richards, his wife Susan, and their son Franklin unconscious on the ground right in front of their house, where they've been living as normal people. Ben arrives at Alicia's home, but when the door opens, it was Johnny standing inside shirtless. He breaks open the door and storms inside, wanting to crush him with his big hands. Johnny transforms into the Human Torch and defends himself, claiming that something special happened while he was away, something he's been searching for his entire life. Meanwhile, Reed and his family were in a state of coma, and while their bodies were still on Earth, their minds were trapped in another dimension by Mephisto. He begins torturing them, claiming he is stronger than ever and they belong to him now. Alicia walks in on the two guys fighting and slaps Ben, asking him to stop. She and Johnny have become lovers, and they care about each other very much. Mephisto impales Susan against a sharp rock, claiming they shouldn't worry because in here, they can't die, and he can torture them forever. Meanwhile, a black hole appears in front of the sun, and another planet that belongs to the Dire Wraiths appears. Doctor Strange confronts Mephisto and tries to save the Fantastic Four, but he is much too strong, even for the Sorcerer Supreme. The entire city begins to shake and crumble as the alien planet gets closer and closer to Earth. Reed tells Strange that Mephisto is afraid of Franklin. That's why he was keeping him in a state of sleep. He is able to free the young boy, even though he didn't understand what Reed was saying. Mephisto is worried at first, but then decides to torture him as well in front of his parents. The Thing goes searching through the rubble, trying to see if there are any people he can help, and runs into a wraith. Meanwhile, Franklin decides to put an end to Mephisto's reign of terror and attacks him with a powerful eye blast. The wraith attacks the Thing, but something comes over the creature and it passes out. The attack from Franklin was devastating, and Mephisto's powers begin to fade away while his body slowly melts away. Thanks to the help from the Wraith Hunter Rangers, the creature's homeworld was destroyed, which caused the attack to stop and save the planet. The Richards wake up from their coma, but Strange is worried that Mephisto might be reborn once again. And as long as evil remains in the hearts of men, he might never be truly defeated. After finding out about Johnny and Alicia, the Thing is furious and goes back to his apartment and loses it. He came back to Earth and was about to break up with her, but can't get past the fact that she broke up with him first. Eventually, he calms down after seeing a picture of Johnny, claiming they are best friends and he wants him to be happy. He decides to take a nap but wakes up from the sound of music coming from two loudspeakers, which were planted right next to his bed. It was Johnny who was playing tricks on him, but the fun was just beginning. After another prank, Ben chases him down through the Baxter building, but the Human Torch is faster. Johnny catches him off guard and plays another prank, this time covering him in banana pies, which are Ben's favorite. The two friends laugh it off and squash the beef between them, but Ben still refuses to talk to him. He goes through his things and finds a picture of Alicia, which triggers a beautiful memory of them walking together through the park. Reed comes to visit because he has something important to tell him. He claims he made a grave error regarding Ben's stay on that secret world. It was he who encouraged him to remain behind and sort out his feelings for Alicia and the team. But there is something else. During an earlier mission, he probed his mind and was able to find out why he can't transform into a human. Apparently, his feelings for Alicia were creating a mental block, preventing him from changing back into Ben Grimm. But now that he broke up with her, he can change back at will. In reality, he's always had that ability, he just didn't know how to do it. Reed knew all of this before leaving his friend behind on Battleworld, but never told him because he didn't know what good it would do. Ben blames him for everything bad that happened in his life. including going into space where he was affected by cosmic rays. Even though he and Alicia are no longer together, he can never change back into a human because he killed Ben Grimm on Battleworld. If only Reed had told him this before, it could have changed his life for the better. Ben decides to leave the building, claiming he quits the team and wants nothing to do with Reed any longer. The story now jumps to Project Pegasus, a government energy research center, which also serves as a temporary containment facility for the study of beings who possess superhuman powers. On this day, Rhino is being loaded into a huge security vehicle and taken to another place. Meanwhile, the Thing buys a bus ticket to the Pegasus project, where he hopes to get a job in security. On the bus, he sits next to Miracle Man, a villain who fought against the Fantastic Four before. Miracle Man used to possess great magical powers, but they were taken from him by the combined might of the Defenders. Suddenly, he is able to hypnotize the driver and forces him to stop the car in the middle of the road, and then he gets off. In that moment, the truck that was carrying Rhino passes by and Miracle Man causes it to crash. He freed him because he wants his help to regain his magical powers, but Rhino doesn't want to escape. He accuses the magician of condemning him to remain for the rest of his life as Rhino and then attacks him. However, his mind is weak and the magician hypnotizes him as well, forcing him to crash into the bus. The bus falls over the edge while the Thing is still inside, but he is able to break free. He climbs back up and confronts Rhino, who was still hypnotized, but after a few punches to the head, he comes to his senses. He claims he was on his way to an experiment, one that would turn him back into a human. The fight continues as Miracle Man turns the two giants against each other, when out of nowhere, a mysterious passenger who was also on the bus shoots him from behind. The magician is killed on the spot, but Rhino is freed from his control. In the end, he turns himself in, and the Thing vouches for him, claiming he wasn't trying to escape. Unfortunately, Project Pegasus doesn't keep prisoners anymore, and the Thing won't be finding a job here anytime soon. The Thing tries to get back to the bus, but he runs into a man in the middle of the field shooting at something. The man claims he is shooting at little people, accusing them of being shameless, but Ben doesn't see anyone else there. He goes back on the road, but the bus had just left this place, leaving him behind. Thinking that things can't get any worse, out of nowhere it starts raining. He wishes there was some kind of shelter he could take cover in when, out of nowhere, a strange barn appears. Upon going inside, he finds hundreds of barrels filled with delicious beer and he serves himself. A bunch of leprechauns appear and he thinks he must be dreaming. One of them introduces himself, thanking Ben for stopping the old man from shooting them. Apparently the field wasn't empty, and those little people were actually leprechauns. The little man claims he can grant him 3 wishes, but he already used one of them when he made the barn appear. As his second wish, the Thing wishes he could be human again, and after sniffing some magic dust, he transforms into Ben Grimm. Unfortunately, a strange fire appears out of nowhere and engulfs the barn, trapping him inside. Ben wishes he was the Thing once again, and his third wish comes true. As the Thing, he is able to free himself and run outside. He then uses a grain silo filled with water to put out the fire and save the barn. The Thing then leaves this place and goes back to the highway, just in time to catch a bus. The leprechauns wave goodbye as the bus drives away, leaving behind this strange encounter. As they were driving, the Thing sees a giant poster of a circus, but the woman was very familiar. It was none other than Tariana, the woman he fell in love with on Battleworld. But this can't be real, she was a fiction of his imagination. He puts on a disguise and heads to the circus, remarking that the last time he visited, he was with Alicia and little Franklin, and they had a wonderful time. This place was full of crazy attractions, including the bearded lady, strong man, world's fastest man, and even the fattest woman in the world. He runs into a familiar figure, Vance Astrovic, a mutant with incredible powers. Vance is a teenager who ran away from home, but Ben knows his parents and wants him to go back. Lauren, another woman from the circus, approaches him, claiming that some of the performers have mysteriously disappeared, and she thinks their boss might be behind this. They agree to meet again later after the show, but Lauren doesn't show up and Vance is worried. He goes searching for her and finds her tied up in one of the tents. Their boss is none other than Taskmaster, a mercenary assassin who uses this circus as a training ground for underworld muscle. Taskmaster sees Vance and wants to kill him, but the Thing gets involved. He then runs outside and sets free the lions, but Vance and Ben easily take care of them, using the ticket booth to trap them inside. But the fight is far from over because Taskmaster orders the performers to attack them, but they are no match for the Thing, who easily takes them out with help from Vance. Taskmaster wants to get away, but Lauren is able to catch and arrest him, together with police officers. She is actually an undercover officer who was investigating the mysterious disappearances. The woman from the poster used to work here, but she quit 1 month prior, so Vance agrees to follow Ben and help him find her. Back on the road, the two of them get nearly run over by the Thunder Riders, a group of stunt bike riders. Ben recognizes one of the riders and thinks it's Tariana, so they decide to follow them. The riders recognize the Thing, but they have no idea what he wants from them. Ben gets face to face with Tariana, but her actual name is Sharon Ventura, and she doesn't recognize him. He freezes and is unable to say a single word, which prompts her to leave. One of the Thunder Riders is leaving the team, and the members organize a trial to replace him. A mysterious rider shows up and blows everyone away with his skills. They've never seen anything like it. He ends the ride by giving Sharon a bouquet of flowers, trying to impress her, and then he reveals his identity, a blonde guy named Champ. The Thing wants to be close to Sharon and decides to audition as well. He was a pilot after all, and his riding abilities aren't bad. He manages to make a pretty big jump, which impresses her. The riders vote to take him into the team instead of Champ, mostly because he is a member of the Fantastic Four, and the crowds will go wild. However, the person leaving the team is Sharon, and that's the only reason the Thing wanted to join. Out of nowhere, a mysterious rider called the Marauder appears and goes after Ben and Vance, who were having a couple of drinks. The other riders get involved as well, including Sharon, who offers to take Ben on her bike. With everyone's efforts combined, the Marauder is eventually stopped. It was Champ all along, looking to exact revenge on the Thing for stealing his spot on the team. It's been 2 weeks since Ben joined the Thunder Riders, and they've been training for an upcoming event. They built a special bike and prepared an amazing trick where Ben keeps the entire team on his shoulders. Everyone is ecstatic to have him on the team, but Ben isn't so sure that this is where he belongs. They have even printed posters advertising their upcoming event, but Ben only joined because he wanted to be close to Sharon. He ultimately quits the team, but there aren't any hard feelings. They knew they couldn't keep a member of the Fantastic Four happy for too long. He and Vance book into a nearby hotel and decide to watch some TV. A man named Garner claims he is creating a new unlimited wrestling federation, one that will feature only the greatest fighters in the country. Vance convinces him to join, but before that, every fighter needs to pass a test. All of them are pretty strong and are able to lift a ton above their heads, but the Thing is something else. He is able to lift the entire stack of weights, but he isn't the only one. Demolition Dunphy is equally as strong, even though it takes everything he's got to lift that many. Garner wants Dunphy to fight the Thing, but he also wants him to lose the fight on purpose. Having a member of the Fantastic Four in the Federation will draw in a bigger crowd. The Thing confronts Garner, furious about the deal, and in the end, both fighters agree to give it their best. Thousands of people showed up to watch the match, and the two fighters shake hands before the bell rings. Even though the Thing is technically stronger, Dunphy is a better skilled fighter and holds his own. Ultimately, the two men clash in a fierce demonstration of power, but Dunphy loses the fight. This new unlimited class federation was a huge success, and the Thing quickly became one of the top fighters. He's invited to give an interview during a late-night show, where he is reminded that he used to be a member of the Fantastic Four. Gator is a former wrestling champion who watches the interview and is jealous of Ben's success. He calls the station and talks to the host, claiming he's better than the Thing, but he was forced to retire because of injuries. One more blow to the head is enough to kill him, and even though he wishes to join the Federation, he's not allowed to. Gator storms into Garner's office and demands to join the Federation, but he refuses, claiming he comes from a weaker Federation and isn't on the same level as his fighters. Vance uses his telekinetic powers and pushes him out of the office, sending him flying into the streets. Gator vows to avenge his honor and visits a witch woman named Jamala. She gives him a potion to drink but warns him that it comes at a cost. He doesn't care and is willing to do anything to become stronger and regain his honor. During one of the matches, Gator comes in and wants to join, even though he wasn't part of the fighters. His body was changed and his skin was green, resembling an alligator from the swamps. He attacks the other fighters, but they all jump him and pin him to the ground. As the fight continues, his body continues to change, transforming more and more into an alligator. As his body changes, he also becomes stronger and he is able to throw the Thing out of the arena. He then goes outside and follows him, but the transformation was accelerating. In the end, his body and mind change into an alligator, and Ben wrestles him down. He then takes Gator to the zoo where he will live for the rest of his life, fighting with other animals. A man with curly hair sits in a bar and drinks godly amounts of alcohol, trying to get himself drunk. He claims he comes from another universe, but during a rift in space, he saw Earth and decided to come here. He created Battleworld, where he brought Earth's mightiest heroes and villains to study humans. Eventually, he turned himself into a human and even got into a relationship with a woman but forced her to love him. A man sitting at the table overhears his story and pays a couple of thugs to attack him, trying to see if his story checks out. The man quickly deals with the attackers, revealing just how strong he really is. The man at the table is actually a talent scout, and he convinces the man to join the Wrestling Federation for the super strong. He even comes up with a name for him, calling him the Beyonder. The Beyonder had to pass the same test as every other fighter, but he is actually stronger than the Thing, lifting 5 times as much weight as him. Garner refuses to let him fight, mostly because he is worried that he will kill every other fighter, including the Thing. Ben eventually finds out about it and confronts Garner, demanding to let them fight. He blames the Beyonder for everything that happened to him recently, taking him to a strange planet, losing Alicia, and even his departure from the Fantastic Four. The day of the fight finally arrives, and while the Beyonder is equally as strong, he is also fast and agile. He wants to experience life as a human and understands that victory means more following a struggle. Ben continues to blame him for every wrong thing in his life, and the Beyonder accepts his fate, asking him to hit him. The Thing punches him as hard as he can, which sends him flying to the ground. The hit was a lot stronger than he had anticipated, and he lies hurt on the floor. Even though he can heal his wounds, he refuses to do it, claiming he wants to die in an earthly fashion. Sharon Ventura, the woman who looks just like Tariana, was also watching the fight and is in shock as Vance begs Ben to hold back and not kill him. But the Thing was in a state of frenzy, as if he had lost all control, and punches the Beyonder with everything he's got. He sees Sharon and quickly realizes he's made a mistake, but luckily the Beyonder wasn't killed. She's been to all of his matches ever since he became a fighter but doesn't know why. Somehow she feels drawn to him. Business goes on as usual, and the Thing continues training with other wrestlers who are obviously weaker than him. However, someone distracts him and his opponent throws him over the ring, landing him in the front row seats. An older man shows up, claiming he is working for the National Safety Commission, accusing the wrestling division of being too dangerous. He wants to shut down the matches until they can build some kind of force field around the ring, making sure the people watching aren't hurt. The fighters take a 2-week break, and Ben decides to visit Sharon on a remote island where she is filming a movie. He is introduced to 2 other gorgeous women, Angela and Desiree, and he is thrilled to be there. Out of nowhere, a dinosaur shows up and the Thing tries to fight it. Unfortunately, this beast is a robot prop, which is part of the movie that Sharon is starring in. It's going to cost a lot of money and time to fix it back together, and Sharon asks him to relax and stay out of trouble. The movie takes place during the dinosaur age and follows a bunch of Neanderthals trying to survive. Sharon is taken by a giant polydactyl bird, and Ben thinks she's in trouble. He tries to catch her but ends up ruining the shot once again, unaware that there was a mattress underneath ready to catch her. During the night, the entire set was destroyed, but nobody knew what had happened. They start filming when, out of nowhere, a real dinosaur comes out of the water and threatens everyone. One of the people remembers reading about Iron Man fighting a giant dinosaur, which happened in Iron Man issue 96, so this thing was actually real. Unfortunately, the Thing is afraid of ruining the shot once again and just sits inside one of the trailers, watching TV. The special effects guy uses the fake dinosaur to attack the real one, injuring its leg and forcing it to retreat back into the water. Ben is shocked to find out what just happened and offers to call the Fantastic Four to deal with the monster. It's about time he stopped running from his past. After spending 2 weeks on the exotic island, the Thing flies back to Las Vegas. But something is wrong with the airplane. One of the landing gears is stuck, so he makes his way into the lower decks and pushes it back into position, allowing the plane to land safely. He then goes back to his hotel, but when he opens the door, he finds someone going through his things. Apparently, this guy is a private investigator who was hired by Vance's parents to find him. They've been worried sick ever since he ran away from home, but Ben throws him outside, threatening him to never go through his things ever again. The next day, Ben goes back to training, but Garner introduces him to a new fighter named Manglin John Mahoney. He quickly realizes that this new guy is using telekinetic powers to push him around, but he isn't who he claims he is. This is Vance in disguise because he wanted to hide from the private investigator, so he took this secret identity and joined the Federation. Ben wants him to stop hiding and go back to his parents, but Vance claims his father was abusive ever since he discovered his son was a mutant. He doesn't want to go back home because if he gets into another argument with his dad, he's afraid he might kill him. The Thing is having terrible migraines and dizzy spells, but the doctor doesn't have a clue what's wrong with him. The private investigator eventually finds Vance and pulls a gun on him, trying to stop him from running away again. He claimed he only wanted to scare the young man and was actually using blanks. He would never use real bullets. He just wanted to delay him and keep him here long enough for his parents to come. The Thing gets involved right away, trying to talk some sense into the young man, who is only 17. Eventually, his mother arrives, claiming she loves him very much and wants him to come back home. Apparently, the dad is doing therapy and is a changed man. They both want him to come back home, and he eventually agrees. A new division was introduced into the Federation, the Women's Division, and 2 fighters are at it in the ring. After beating her opponent, Battleaxe claims that she will become the new Grapplers leader, which is a mercenary group of women that they are both part of. Titania doesn't accept defeat and loses her temper. attacking Battleaxe and trying to kill her. The Thing gets involved and tries to calm the spirits while the grapplers stop Titania and send her to cool off in the locker room. The grapplers have a small meeting accusing Titania of losing control and ruining their place in the Federation. They all used to work as muscle for hire, but they wanted to quit, so Auntie Freeze, aka their secret boss, arranged for them to join wrestling and earn a living this way. Titania goes to take a shower and cool off when Golddigger, one of her teammates, walks in on her. She is armed with a machine gun and shoots her point blank, claiming her crimes have gone unpunished for too long. The Thing sees her exiting the showers, but Golddigger lies and claims a man shot Titania. The other females arrive and think that he's the one who murdered their teammate, so they all jump on top of him. They form a big pile on top of him, attacking from every angle. When Sharon arrives, she gets involved and jumps to his rescue, unafraid to face so many women at once. But Auntie Freeze watches the entire scene and thinks she has potential. Eventually things calm down, and the women realize that Ben isn't to blame, and Auntie gives Sharon her business card, the Power Broker, claiming she wants to help her join the team. Later at dinner, Sharon tells Ben about Auntie's idea, but he thinks it's stupid, claiming that whoever is augmenting these women with great powers could be dangerous and possibly illegal. They get into a heated argument, and she storms out, saying she already made up her mind and called the Power Broker. Garner thought it might be a good idea to have the women fight against the men, but Ben isn't so sure. He refuses to fight back and just takes a beating, causing Battleaxe to win the fight. However, she enjoys a fair fight and accuses him of forfeiting the match and refuses to take the belt. The Sphinx, a former enemy of the Thing who was defeated by him not too long ago, threatens to have his revenge. During their last encounter, the cast stone was damaged, an ancient artifact and the source of his powers. His sensors detected an energy source emanating from a giant pile of garbage, but when he collected it, it was just another pile of clay. However, this isn't normal clay, it's radioactive, and after coming in contact with the Sphinx's machines, the Puppet Master is reborn. They both blame the Thing for their misfortune, and Puppet Master wants to join forces to take him down, but the Sphinx is over 5,000 years old and possesses immense powers, and he rejects the offer. Puppet Master decides to go after the Thing alone, hoping to take him down first before the Sphinx arrives. He uses clay once again and takes control over Dunphy, forcing him to attack his enemy. But the Thing sees him in the arena and realizes what's going on, even though he has no idea how he was able to come back to life. The Puppet Master only goes after him because he doesn't approve of his relationship with his stepdaughter, Alicia Masters. Ben proves to him that the two of them have broken up, and the Puppet Master vows to leave him alone. During one of their opening nights, the Sphinx decides to have a go at him as well, and a brutal fight erupts outside the wrestling arena. The entire place turns into a battlefield, and people run for their lives, trying to stay away. The Puppet Master wants to intervene, but isn't sure which side to choose and who to help. He eventually decides to help the Thing and takes control over the Sphinx, forcing him to destroy the cast stone which was mounted on his forehead. This was the true source of his powers, and without it, his body begins to shrivel and turn to dust, wiping out over 5,000 years of existence in a second. Sharon is on her way to see the Power Broker when a couple of thugs ambush her out of nowhere. She is a stunt woman and an excellent athlete and manages to fight them off, but she gets slammed into the wall and starts feeling dizzy. A soldier named Michael Lynch comes to her rescue and beats the attackers. Seeing him in uniform triggers an emotional memory of her father. Ever since she was a little girl, her father was very strict with her, pushing her to the limits. But no matter what she did, it was never enough. Eventually, he died, but she became a stunt woman, trying to make him proud in the only way she knew how, proving that his way was not the only way. The Thing is feeling dizzy once again and sees Dunphy taking strange blue pills. He claims they are nerve pills, which help him to calm down before a match, but that wasn't the truth. Sharon eventually arrives at the Power Brokers and gets strapped to a special machine. Dr. Malice claims the broker finances his work, and he says that his treatment is going to make her incredibly strong. The procedure is incredibly painful, and she starts having visions of her father. When it is done, Dr. Malice wants to start stage 2, which involves injecting her with a special serum, but she panics and breaks free. She claims she changed her mind and doesn't want the treatment anymore, but if she doesn't get the injection, something bad will happen to her. She tries to get out but runs into a room filled with hideous monsters. These are all failed experiments, and maybe the same thing is going to happen to her as well if she refuses to take the injection. She is ambushed on the streets by metahumans who were enhanced just like her, but luckily, the Thing comes to her rescue. Together with Lieutenant Michael Lynch, they are able to help her, and she manages to run back to Auntie Freeze. She gives her a special costume, claiming it is part of her new act as a wrestling fighter. Sharon decides to take the alias Ms. Marvel after a famous superhero who went missing over a year ago. Unfortunately, the power broker was working together with Dr. Malus, and she orders the other fighters to kill her. The Thing comes to her rescue a second time and manages to help her escape while fleeing through the back door. Meanwhile, in New York City, She-Hulk is training in the Baxter building when she hears on the news that the Thing is accused of causing massive destruction last night in Los Angeles. She wants to help him and gets on the earliest flight. The Thing breaks inside the power broker's lab, but the place was emptied last night. There is no sign of Dr. Malus or his machines when, out of nowhere, they are attacked by his thugs. A fight erupts once again, but Ms. Marvel is holding her own, going toe-to-toe with even the strongest girls. However, they are eventually overrun, and the Thing claims he is feeling weak and dizzy. Something isn't right. Sharon wants him to get up and help her because, without the injection, she's going to die. She gives him a slap, but he screams as loud as he can, experiencing unbearable pain. Something is happening to him and his body is beginning to change, as if his entire skin is pulsating. He feels ashamed and doesn't want anyone to look at him, continuing to scream in agony. The other fighters try to help him calm down, but he is too strong for all of them. They are eventually successful in pinning him down, and he is taken to the hospital by ambulance. Ms. Marvel wonders if she should call Reed Richards, but the mere mention of that name causes him even more pain. She-Hulk arrives and wants to go inside the hospital, but Ms. Marvel is afraid that seeing her will cause him more pain, just like when she mentioned Reed's name. The two of them begin fighting, and even though She-Hulk is stronger, Sharon is much faster and more agile thanks to her gymnastics background. Ben doesn't want She-Hulk to see him in this condition, thinking she's going to laugh at him, and runs away. The two girls chase after him, but it's no use. He was too fast and managed to get away. He climbed inside a garbage truck, which took him outside the city, in the middle of nowhere. Ben doesn't know what's going on with him and thinks he's going to die, but if that's true, he knows just the place to do it in peace and says goodbye to this cruel world.